Today is my birthday. 70 years of breathing, struggling, bending without breaking. The cake sits on the table like a guest who forgot to leave. I bought it myself, vanilla with buttercream, just like I used to get for my son when he was little. Only now, there's no little boy to cut a slice for, no sticky fingers to swipe frosting, no giggles from the hallway, just me, just silence. I lit a single candle anyway, didn't even make a wish. Just watched it flicker until the wax spilled over and the flame went out on its own. There's a kind of poetry in that, I guess. The apartment's quiet, save for the occasional hum of the refrigerator and the creak of old floorboards settling in for the night. The radiator's ticking again, old pipes with older bones, like me. Sometimes I wonder if the building knows I'm here. If it remembers all the years I've paced its floors, cried into its walls, whispered prayers in its corners. I've lived in this one-bedroom walk-up for 42 years. I came here with a husband and a baby. Now it's just me. I sat on the edge of the couch for a while, staring at the flame. I thought about calling someone, anyone, but I wouldn't even know what to say. Hi, it's Gloria. I'm still alive. Just thought I'd remind you. No. Too pitiful. Too proud. Besides, no one wants a call like that on a Saturday. It wasn't always like this. There was a time I was someone. Not famous, not rich, but someone. People used to smile when I entered a room. Say good morning, Miss Gloria. Ask me about my day. I used to work in a jewellery store, small place on Broad Street, family owned. I started when I was 23. Fresh-faced, soft-voiced, grateful for anything. They sold delicate things, diamond pendants, thin gold chains, watches in velvet boxes. I wore white gloves and kept the glass spotless. That was my job. Keep the sparkle alive. I was good at it. Real good. I could read a customer the moment they walked in. Nervous men looking for engagement rings. Proud women shopping for themselves. Husbands trying to apologise. Jewellery doesn't lie. It tells you exactly what kind of moment someone's in. That's why I loved it. It gave me a front row seat to people's hearts. For a long while I felt like I belonged there. The other girls were nice enough, at first. The owner, Mr. Whitman, used to call me Sunshine because he said I always brightened the mornings. I never corrected him, never told him that sometimes I cried in the stockroom, hiding behind boxes of discontinued earrings. There were signs, of course. Looks that lasted a little too long. Conversations that stopped when I entered the room. Jokes that weren't meant for me, but that somehow stung all the same. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was lucky just to have the job, that things would get better, but they didn't. I was never late, never rude, never stole a dime. But one Thursday I came in and Mr. Whitman wouldn't meet my eyes, told me business was slowing down, said they had to make cuts, said it wasn't personal. But the girl they hired the next week, blonde, 19, no experience, she smiled a little too wide when she showed up in my old spot behind the counter. I didn't argue. I didn't cry, not in front of them at least. I walked out holding a box of my things. Lip balm, gloves, a pair of flats I kept under the register. It was autumn, leaves crunching under my shoes, cold wind finding its way through the seams of my coat. I walked all the way home. When I opened the door, my son was sitting on the floor playing with a wooden train. He was 5. My husband was asleep on the couch, beer can on his chest. I stood there for a long time, holding that box, trying to swallow the lump in my throat. I remember thinking, don't let them see you break. I made spaghetti that night, told them I was just taking a little time off. Mama needs a break, I said. My son clapped. My husband didn't even look up, just muttered, whatever. He left a month later, said he couldn't do it anymore. Didn't say what it was, but I think I knew. He wanted someone shiny, someone who made life feel easier. I had stopped shining. After that, the days got longer. I applied everywhere. Diners, offices, cleaning services. People looked at me like I was already broken. I was 30. Young, but not young enough. Black, polite, but still black. Too many excuses, too few chances. Eventually I got hired to clean up after a travelling circus. It wasn't what you think. No magic, no music. Just mud, wrappers, empty popcorn bags and bathrooms that made me cry the first time I saw them. I worked nights while my son slept. I left notes on the fridge, cereals in the cupboard. Be good. I love you. Sometimes I'd come home and find him asleep at the table, crayons still in hand. He'd draw pictures of animals, tents, lions in cages. He thought I worked with the performers. I never told him the truth. Let him think his mama was part of the show. We lived like that for years, always one step behind the bills. He grew up, got taller than me by 13, his voice changed, his laughter faded. He stopped asking questions. I knew I was losing him, little by little. Still, I packed his lunches, kissed his forehead, and prayed he'd make it somewhere I never could. He left for college at 18, said goodbye with a hug that felt like an apology. I stood in the doorway long after he was gone, the silence screaming louder than anything I'd ever heard. He calls sometimes, not often, says he's busy, says life moves fast. I understand, I really do. But sometimes I stare at the phone and wonder if he remembers what I gave up just to keep him fed. Now, it's just me and this cake. I reach for the knife, cut a slice and watch as it tilts on the plate. I don't even taste it. Just chew and swallow, chew and swallow. The frosting sticks to the roof of my mouth. Too sweet. I look out the window. A boy walks by, holding balloons. Red, green, blue. He's laughing. For a moment, I see my son in him. That wild joy kids have before the world teaches them to shrink. I wonder what would have happened if I'd fought harder. If I'd yelled. If I'd sued that jewellery store, marched into Mr. Whitman's office and told him exactly what he did to me. But I didn't. I needed peace more than justice. I needed to keep breathing. 70 years. The candle's wick is cold now. The room feels smaller somehow. Or maybe I've just finally noticed how empty it is. I gather the wrapping from the cake box and toss it in the trash. Wash the plate, wipe the counter. Same motions, different day. That's what life becomes in the end. Routines that hold you up when everything else has let you down. I sit again, close my eyes. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I hear the sound of applause. Not for me, for the circus, for the performers I never saw, only cleaned up after. But in this moment, I pretend it's for me. Just once. I imagine someone clapping because I kept going, because I raised a son, because I survived. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it has to be. Если нужно, могу сохранить или отправить еще раз. I wake up the next morning with a stiffness in my knees that reminds me I'm not young anymore. The sun slices through the blinds, cutting pale lines across the hardwood floor. Another day, another quiet. I sit up slowly, bones groaning, heart heavy. The remnants of last night are still there. Cake half eaten, the single candle burned down to its nub, wax hardened into a puddle like a frozen tear. I think about throwing it away, but I don't. Not yet. I make tea, not coffee. Coffee's for people with places to go, things to do. Tea is for reflection, for quiet hearts and quiet mornings. I hold the mug between my palms and stare out the window. The world goes on, just like it always does. A man walks his dog. A woman rushes to catch the bus. A couple argues under their breath. Life hums outside and I watch it from behind glass, like I've always watched it. I used to have dreams, not the kind you whisper into pillows, but real ones, tangible. I wanted to own a shop one day, a little place with velvet-lined counters, soft lighting, jazz playing low in the background. I would smile at every customer, know their names, remember the dates they needed something special. A place where love stories began. I even had a name for it, Gloria's Grace. It sounded classy, strong, full of warmth. I never told anyone about that dream, not even my husband, especially not him. He didn't believe in things he couldn't see, and I was already too much dream for him. He liked things he could drink, punch, walk away from. The day he left, he didn't even pack a bag. Just walked out wearing that stupid leather jacket he thought made him look tough. He didn't say goodbye to our son. Didn't even look back. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, heart unraveling. I didn't cry then either. I waited until I heard his car start, and then I dropped to the floor, curled up beside my child's shoes and wept like the world had ended. And maybe it had. It took weeks before I stopped listening for his key in the door. Months before I stopped dreaming that he'd come back. Years before I realised I didn't want him to. Raising my boy alone wasn't easy. There were nights I had to choose between paying the electric bill and buying groceries. I always picked groceries. You can live without light. You can't let a child go hungry. He never complained, never asked why we didn't have what other families had. He'd just smile, hug me, say, "I love you, Mama," and my heart would break all over again because I couldn't give him more. Sometimes I wonder if he resents me now, not for the love I gave him all of that I had, but for the life, for the nights he had to eat cereal for dinner, for the Christmases when all he got was socks, for the birthdays I had to miss because the circus needed someone to scrub the bleachers after the show. The circus. Lord, I haven't thought about that in years. It wasn't the kind with acrobats flying through the air or glitter falling from the sky. It was rough around the edges, loud, dirty, smelled like sweat and old popcorn. But it paid. And they didn't ask questions. They needed someone who would show up, keep their head down and clean without complaint. That was me. I remember the first time I walked into that big tent, long after the crowd had left. Empty seats, forgotten balloons, peanut shells scattered like breadcrumbs. It felt like cleaning up after someone else's happiness, like scrubbing away evidence that joy had ever been there. But I did it, night after night. While my son slept, I swept and mopped and hauled trash. Sometimes I'd find little treasures, broken costume jewellery, confetti stars, once even a clown's red nose. I kept them in a box under my bed, proof that magic had existed, even if only in pieces. Some nights I'd sit on the edge of the ring, exhausted, and let the silence swallow me. I'd close my eyes and pretend I was part of the show, that I had a spotlight, an audience, that someone clapped for me, just once. The performers never talked to me. I was the help, invisible. I learned to move like a shadow, to finish before sunrise, to vanish before the next show began. But I listened, I watched, I learned their names, their routines, their fears, and in some strange way, they became part of my world. One time I found a little girl's stuffed elephant in the bleachers, dirty, missing one eye, but clearly loved. I took it home, washed it, stitched up the seam, gave it to my son. He held it tight for weeks, called it Henry. Years later, when he packed for college, I found Henry tucked in the corner of his suitcase. I cried over that little elephant more than I ever cried over my husband. It's strange, the things we hold on to and the things we lose without meaning to. I sip my tea. Cold now. I don't bother warming it. The phone sits on the counter, silent. It used to ring on my birthday. Used to light up with messages, a call from my son. The last time he called, he promised he'd visit. That was 2 years ago. I don't blame him. He has his own life now. A job. A family, maybe. And he doesn't tell me much anymore. I scroll through my memories like old photographs. Most are faded, some are torn, but a few still shine, like the way my son looked at me after his first school play, face beaming with pride, like the way he'd fall asleep on my lap, warm and safe, like the way he once told me, "Mama, you're the strongest person I know." That one I keep close. The day drifts by in a haze. I clean a little, water the plant in the window. Fold the same dish towel 3 times before deciding it's fine the way it is. I think about taking a walk, but the stairs feel too steep today. Instead, I sit by the window again, watch the world. Evening falls like a blanket, the light fades, and with it so do my thoughts. I light a candle, not for celebration this time, but for company. I whisper a name into the flame, not my husband's, not my son's, my own. Gloria, still here, still breathing, still trying to matter.
Если нужно.
Всегда могу отправить еще раз. I don't know when I started talking to myself, but somewhere along the way, silence stopped being peaceful. It started pressing on my chest like weight, so now I speak, not loud, just enough to remind myself that I still have a voice. Let's not forget the laundry tomorrow, I mumble to no one in particular, and maybe mop the kitchen floor. It's silly, I know, but these small declarations, these reminders, they keep me tethered to something real. Because when the world stops noticing you, you start fading. First from photographs, then from phone calls, then from your own memory of who you used to be. I used to be Gloria May Turner, assistant floor manager at Whitman's Jewellers, wife, mother, church singer, volunteer, someone people wave to, someone people ask things of. I mattered. Now, some days, I feel like a ghost in my own skin. I walk past mirrors without recognizing myself. The lines on my face are maps of wars I never volunteered for. My hands, once graceful and strong, now tremble when I button my blouse. But the heart? The heart remembers everything. It remembers standing behind that glass case, showing engagement rings to strangers and pretending not to flinch when they looked right through me. It remembers the cold air against my face as I walked home after losing my job, biting back tears until I reached the safety of my hallway. It remembers my son's tiny arms wrapping around my neck, whispering, "Don't worry, Mama, I'll take care of you one day." I believed him. God, I wanted to believe him. I know he loves me. I know that. Even if he forgets to call, forgets my birthday, forgets how hard I fought. Love doesn't disappear, it just changes shape. Sometimes it becomes silence, distance, a busy life in another city. But I still keep his room the same. The bed is made. The posters still on the walls, though they're peeling now. I dust it once a week. Fold the same clothes I folded when he was a teenager, though I know he'll probably never wear them again. That room is a time capsule, frozen at the point where he stopped needing me. There's a photograph on his nightstand, us at the zoo when he was 9. He's holding my hand, grinning with missing teeth. I look tired in the picture, really tired, but happy, because that day we laughed, and laughter, when it comes, is a holy thing. I take the photo back to the living room, prop it up beside the candle. For a second, the flickering light makes it look like we're moving, like the moment is still alive. I smile, just a little. The phone rings. For a heartbeat, I freeze. It hasn't rung all day, all week. I don't recognize the number, but my fingers move before I can stop them. Hello? A pause. Then a man's voice. Young, polite. Hi, is this Gloria Turner? Yes, I say, cautious. This is Michael. I work at Golden Pines Retirement Services. We're reaching out to seniors in the area who might be interested in... I hang up. My heart pounds. Not because of the call, but because for just a second I thought it might be him, my son, calling to say, "Hey, Mama, I didn't forget." But it wasn't him. It never is. I sit back down, the ache heavier now. I want to scream, but I don't. There's no point. The walls have heard it all before. I think about writing him a letter. I've done that before. I never send them, just write and fold and tuck them in a drawer. Letters filled with things I can't say out loud. Things like, "Do you remember the time we danced in the kitchen to Stevie Wonder? You were 6 and standing on my feet, and I pretended we were at a ballroom. You laughed so hard you hiccuped for an hour." I've never forgotten that sound. I don't think I ever will. I could send it, but I won't. Pride is a stubborn thing. So is fear. Instead, I sit here, letting the candle burn down again, letting the darkness creep in through the windows, and I tell myself that tomorrow I'll do something different. I'll go out. I'll talk to someone. I'll take the bus to the park and feed the pigeons like I used to. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But for tonight, I'm still here. And maybe that's enough. I close my eyes and let my head rest against the back of the chair. I listen to the hum of the city outside, cars, voices, distant laughter, life. It's all still happening out there. And I'm still breathing, still waiting, still Gloria. Если надо, могу переслать или сохранить. In the middle of the night, I wake up from a dream I can't remember. My mouth is dry and the room is darker than usual. The candle's long gone out and I forgot to turn on the hallway lamp. For a second, I'm confused. I feel like I'm back in my childhood bedroom, small, quiet, with the hum of something electric in the background and the faint sound of rain on the window. But then my knees ache as I shift to sit up, and I remember where I am. Who I am. I reach for my robe. The old blue one, threadbare around the cuffs. I don't throw much away. I've had this since my son was in middle school. He used to make fun of it, said it made me look like a wizard. I told him wizards had power and I'd earned mine. He rolled his eyes and smiled like only a boy who still believed in his mother's strength could. I shuffle to the kitchen, fill a glass of water and lean against the counter. The silence feels deeper at this hour, like the world itself is holding its breath. I think about calling him again. I won't, of course, but I think about it. I picture the conversation in my head 100 different ways. "Hey baby, it's Mama. Just wanted to hear your voice. Just wanted to know you're okay." But it never plays out right. In my mind, he sounds tired, distant, a little annoyed. Not because he doesn't love me, but because life has pushed him too far down the road. And I'm just a flicker in his rearview mirror. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had remarried, if I'd let someone else in. There were men over the years, quiet ones, lonely ones. A bus driver who used to leave extra transfers on my seat. A neighbour who offered to carry my groceries up the stairs even when I said no. I always said no. Not because I didn't want company, but because I didn't want to owe anyone anything ever again. After my husband left, I made a promise to myself: no more begging to be seen, no more shrinking, no more smiling through bruises, whether they were on my body or in my heart. And maybe that's why I ended up here, alone. Strength can be a heavy thing to carry, especially when it becomes armor you can't take off. I finish my water, rinse the glass, and set it in the sink. My hands linger there. The feel of cool porcelain beneath my fingers reminds me of the jewelry shop. How I used to run my hands along the counters to make sure there wasn't a single speck of dust. I took such pride in that. It seems silly now, but back then, that store was my kingdom. Those cases, my glass walls. I saw the world through them. One time a woman came in with a ring that had belonged to her grandmother. The diamond was cracked, the gold band dull. She was crying. Said she couldn't afford a new one but wanted to wear it on her wedding day. I took that ring and polished it like it was the most precious thing I'd ever touched. When I handed it back, she cried again, but this time from joy. Said I was a magician. That day, I felt like one. But magicians don't last forever, the world makes sure of that. I walk back to the living room and sit in my chair again, pulling the quilt over my lap. Outside, the rain has started. Soft, rhythmic, comforting. Like an old lullaby I used to hum to my baby when he had trouble sleeping. I still hum it sometimes. When I miss him so much it aches. When I can't remember what his voice sounds like. When I need to believe that he remembers me, not as the old woman who calls too often, but as the mother who kissed, scraped knees and held him through every thunderstorm. I glance at the clock. Almost 4 a.m, another sleepless night. Another early morning coming too fast. I think about going back to bed, but instead, I reach for the small wooden box on the side table. It's dusty. I haven't opened it in years. Inside are bits and pieces of the life I used to live. Photos, old pay stubs from Whitman's, a crumpled drawing my son made in 2nd grade of me with a giant crown on my head. My mama is a queen, it says in thick, uneven letters. I hold it against my chest and close my eyes. Maybe I was. Maybe I still am. I don't need diamonds or applause or anyone's approval. I have my memories, my pain, my love, my truth. And tonight, they feel like enough. Tomorrow I'll get up. I'll wash my face, I'll open the window, I'll feed the pigeons if they come back to the sill. I'll try again, because that's what I do, because I am still here, still breathing, still Gloria. And I am not finished yet. Если захочешь, могу сохранить или отправить снова. The morning comes slow, like it's unsure whether I deserve the light. I sit by the window again, same place as yesterday, same chipped mug warming my palms. Outside, the city wakes without noticing me. Cars pass, people rush, horns echo against brick. It's all so loud and distant. I sip my tea and listen to the world forgetting me. But I haven't forgotten myself, not yet. I take out the notebook I keep in the drawer beside my chair. It's small, leather-bound, with soft pages and a faint scent of dust and ink. I used to write in it more. Little memories, prayers, bits of poems I never finished. I flip to a blank page and stare at it for a long time. Then slowly I begin to write. I am 70 years old today. I have loved and lost, laughed and wept, worked until my bones ached and my spirit cracked, but I'm still here. I've swept confetti from circus floors and polished diamonds for brides I'd never meet. I've tucked letters under pillows and hidden tears in dishwater. I've made a home from scraps and filled it with hope. I've fed a child on food stamps and dreams. And now I sit in the silence and remember who I was before the world decided I didn't matter anymore. My hand trembles, but I keep writing. Words pour from me like water after a drought. There was a time I thought strength meant silence, that surviving meant never complaining. But now I know that telling my story is also a kind of survival. Maybe the most powerful kind. I pause, stare at the words, then I smile, just a little. It's a soft, private smile, the kind you give yourself when no one's looking. The kind that says, you did good, even if no one else says it, you did good. And I did. I know that now. I raised a child on nothing but love and grit. I swallowed pain so he wouldn't taste it. I gave him the world, even if it came chipped and secondhand. And now he lives somewhere else, in another city, in another life. But he carries me with him. I have to believe that. I do believe that. Later, I water the plant in the kitchen, the one I thought would die 2 winters ago, but kept growing, stubborn and green, like me. I eat breakfast, just toast and eggs, the way I used to make for my boy before school. I can still hear his sleepy voice asking, "Do I have to go today?" and me answering, "Yes, baby. You have to go, so one day you won't have to come back to this." He never understood what I meant. Maybe now he does. I clean the apartment, even though it's already clean. I dust every corner, wipe down the bathroom sink, fold towels I won't use today. It's not about the chores, it's about control. When everything else in life feels uncertain, clean counters and lined up shoes are victories. At noon, I sit again by the window. The light is brighter now, and it falls across the table where the candle from last night still sits, stubby and blackened. I pick it up, stare at the wax, then set it gently in the trash. One small release, one goodbye, and then something strange happens. The doorbell rings. I freeze. Nobody rings my bell. Not anymore. My neighbours barely nod in the hallway. My mailbox is mostly empty. Who would be standing on the other side of that door? My heart pounds as I shuffle across the living room. I don't run. I don't move fast like I used to, but I go. I put my hand on the doorknob and hesitate, and then I open it. It's a young man, early 20s maybe. Tall, nervous smile, holding a small box in his hands. "Miss Turner?" he says. I nod slowly, confused. "This is for you," he says, handing me the box. "From your son." I stare at the box, then at the boy. He steps back, respectful. He asked me to drop it off, said to tell you he's sorry he couldn't make it. I take the box in my hands. It's light, wrapped in brown paper with a simple ribbon, no card. "Thank you," I whisper. He nods, then leaves, disappearing down the stairs like a ghost. I close the door, lock it, carry the box to the table and sit down. For a moment, I just look at it, afraid to hope, afraid to feel. Then, I unwrap it. Inside is a framed photo, a new one. My son, older now, standing with a woman and a little girl, a baby girl with my eyes, my mouth, my breath catches. There's a note taped to the back of the frame. Her name is Grace. We told her about you. She calls you Grandma Gloria. I'm sorry it's been so long. I've made mistakes, but I love you. We all do. Happy birthday. The tears come then. Quiet, steady. I press the photo to my chest and close my eyes. Grace. I whisper the name like a prayer, and for the first time in a long time, I feel something bloom in my chest. Not hope exactly, something softer, something steadier. A reason to keep going. I set the photo beside the notebook, light a fresh candle, and whisper into the flame, I'm still here. And I'm not finished yet. Если нужно, могу сохранить, переслать или помочь с чем-то еще. The candle flickers gently, casting long shadows across the table. I sit still, photo in one hand, the little note in the other. My eyes trace every line of my son's face, every soft feature on the baby girl resting in his arms. Grace. She looks like him when he was that small. Same wide, curious eyes, same little button nose. But I see myself too. In the curve of her cheek, in the shape of her mouth, in the quiet strength that seems to radiate from her tiny body, even frozen in a photograph. Grandma Gloria. It sounds foreign and familiar all at once. I say it out loud to the walls, to the candlelight, to the quiet air around me. Grandma Gloria. A soft smile touches my lips, my name, and his voice, printed on paper but ringing louder than any phone call. I love you. How many years have I waited to hear that again? I run my fingers along the edge of the frame. Not out of habit, but to remind myself that this is real. Not a dream. Not another letter I wrote to myself and never sent. This is him, reaching out. A little late, but reaching still. I set the photo down, careful like it's made of crystal. I rise slowly, knees groaning in protest, and move to the cabinet by the window. I open the top drawer and pull out a small hammer and a single nail I've kept tucked in a coffee can since the last time I hung anything. I choose the wall right above the armchair, the place where the sunlight falls best in the morning. I tap the nail into the wall with care, then hang the photo where I can see it every day, every morning, every night. And when I step back, my breath catches again, not from sadness this time, but from a strange, steady warmth in my chest. A feeling I haven't let myself have in years. Belonging. I press my hands to my chest and exhale. It's been so long since I let myself feel joy without guilt. Every time something good brushed against me, I pulled away. I didn't think I deserved it. But now, standing here in the soft light of a quiet apartment, I feel like I've been given permission to hope again. Hope not for what was lost, but for what might still come. The kettle whistles on the stove. I forgot I turned it on. I walk to the kitchen, pour myself another cup of tea, and this time I add a spoonful of honey. Something sweet, a small gift, just for me. I carry the mug back to my chair, sit down and let the warmth seep into my hands. Then I reach for my notebook again. This time, the words come without effort. Today I remembered who I am, not who the world saw, not who they forgot, but who I've always been, Gloria May Turner. Mother, worker, dreamer, survivor, and now, grandma. I have seen the dark. I have carried loneliness like a stone in my pocket. I have walked through years of silence, holding only memories to light the way, but tonight something changed. Tonight, love found its way back to me. I stop, close the notebook and hold it to my chest. Outside, the rain has stopped. The sky is clearing. I open the window and let the cool night air wash over me. The city smells like wet pavement and something faintly blooming. I lean my head against the frame and listen. Somewhere down the street, a child is laughing. A sharp, bright sound that rises above everything else. I smile, not because it reminds me of my son, but because it reminds me of myself. The girl I used to be. The one who danced barefoot in her grandmother's kitchen, who sang to the radio while folding laundry, who believed in magic even when the world gave her every reason not to. She's still in there. And tonight, she feels seen. Tomorrow I'll write a letter, a real one this time. I'll mail it. I'll tell him thank you. I'll ask about Grace. I'll say I'd love to meet her. Maybe they'll come, maybe they won't. But the door is open now. And sometimes an open door is enough to change everything. I finish my tea, blow out the candle, turn out the lights, and for the first time in years, I go to bed not with heaviness in my chest, but with peace. Jeśli хочешь, могу помочь чем-то еще. I sit by the window again, just like I did that morning when the candle burned down to nothing. But this time there's no cake, no silence pressing against my chest. Just the photo on the wall, my son, my granddaughter, a small miracle I didn't dare ask for. The world outside is waking up. The city hums with life I no longer chase, and that's okay. I've chased enough, I've cried enough. I've lost more than I ever thought one person could lose. But I'm still here, not just breathing, but alive. Maybe I'll never see them again. Maybe that photo is the only reunion I'll get in this life. But love, real love, doesn't need doors to open or feet to arrive. Sometimes just needs to be remembered. So I light another candle. Not for a birthday this time, but for everything I survived. For the girl I used to be, for the woman I became, for the mother who never stopped loving even when the world turned its back, and for the hope that found its way home. Just in time, the flame flickers quietly. And this time I make a wish. Если нужно сохранить в